Hey, what is good, people? Episode 54. Sports Debate Tuesday. Episode starts right now. What's good, people? This is episode 54. This is Sports Debate Tuesday, along with my man Rob. Keep it McLean. I am Jason DeBeas. Thank you for having us in your living room or what have you. I was gonna sing "Hate of the Love at the Underdogs on top" because I think Tom Brady was an underdog for Saints and for Green Bay, and I think an underdog for this. So, man. And it was so, Rob, it was so crazy, man, because I was going to pick Kansas City with you last week. And then I woke up in the morning and I told myself, I said, never bet against Brady. So all right,
Right.
people, that's what we're going to talk about. Of course, we're going to have that a little bit there. We're going to talk about ideal landing spots. Deshaun Watson says he wants to be traded. That was a week ago, and we're going to talk about good landing spots for him. It's also trade rumors about Carson Wentz. So we're going to do some have fun with the hypotheticals. Got a good to shame and no to shame. Got two categories. Of course, quick question. But Rob. Oh, of course, the UFC happened this weekend. We got two pay-per-views coming up, I think, in consecutive weeks. Woo! But Rob, first things first. Super Bowl 54. Or was it 54? Yeah. Doesn't matter. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucs put a hurting on the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9 defense. Wow. This is Brady's 7th Super Bowl victory and his 10th appearance. His 5th MVP. He got Super Bowl MVP. And maybe you and me could play around at the end like who else probably could have been considered if not him. But the first question is, Rob, was this great Bucs or was this bad Chiefs? And I use the term bad loosely.
Yeah, and I'm going to use it loosely as well. And it's nothing to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, they played fantastic on both sides of the ball. So in that essence, it could absolutely be good Tampa Bay because at the, you know, if Golden State, if Kansas City, you know, if they played their best ball, they could have still lost. You know, I think Tampa played just such a great game. It's hard to, you know, take away from them. And, you know, I think the question also goes on to, you know, was it not unfair, but, you know, usually they try to keep it in a neutral field. This is one of the first times where, you know, the Super Bowl's been where one of the teams playing in it has you know, had home field advantage. So, you know, tough game. I think at the end of the day, when you look at the personnel that was on the field, the very first thing I look at is the trenches. And I think defensively, they both had great pieces. And I think in the beginning of the year, Tampa Bay had a lot of questions on their offensive line, but they answered them, you know, through the season. Kansas City, on the other hand, they had lost their, you know, could have possibly been their best offensive lineman. And they had to do a lot of shifting. And
Yeah,
honestly, watching that game all day long, it wasn't fun to watch because it wasn't really offense. It was just, you know, one guy running for his life and trying to, you know, put the ball in somebody else's hands, you know. So in that essence, I don't think it's a bad Chiefs. I just think it's, you know, injured Chiefs and injured in the wrong place. They could have lost 3 wide receivers and been in a better position than not losing their left tackle. And left tackle, again, is one of the most pinnacle positions on the football field. Moving the right tackle there. The guy, Remmers, he did a fantastic job shutting down who was in front of him, but it was the rest of the line. It was inside. It was on the right side. It was doubling up on that left tackle. You know, it was just and the other thing I saw was that, you know, the defense is winning with a 4-man rush against 5-man blocking schemes. I mean, it was really tough to watch, you know. And you know, I was looking at Patrick Mahomes saying, get rid of the ball, you know, put it in somebody's hands, you know, get it out of your hands quick. But, you know, if you don't have that confidence that you at least have a little bit of a pocket to look down the field, you're going to be looking at who's running at you first. And I think that was just pretty much the whole game where, he was ready to run. And it was very, very difficult to watch.
There we go. All right, Rob, before I answer the question, did the left tackle get injured in the Buffalo game?
Yes, he got injured in the last game they played.
Right.
He tore his ACL.
Because losing 2 tackles did indeed hurt Kansas City. Now, for me, I'm going to go with great Bucs for many, many reasons. And here's reason number 1. Their game plan. They knew, in fact, Tony Romo, in all his brilliance, just said screen pass, sets up play action sets up a couple of deep balls if you want. And it's crazy because they knew they were going to do that and they did it anyway. And screen passes help, but screen passes have to be, it's weird because screen passes set up the running game instead of the running game setting up screen passes. So they went screen to run to play action, and it worked to perfection. Got Leonard Fournette, 89 yards rushing. You like that, and a Benny Bone and a score. Not to mention 46 yards from 4 catches in the air, who could have been an MVP, just as worthy a candidate as MVP as Tom Brady was. I mean, you want to give it to the whole defense because it was a collaborative effort. It's like, how do you give that to one person, or how do you give, or try MVP to someone? So Brady, I mean, it's really the easy way out because he's the GOAT, and he, hey, listen, 21 to 29 and for 3 touchdowns ain't too bad either, right? I mean, you don't have to. He's got 201 yards passing, but come on, 72% completion percentage, passer rating of 132. Man, who says you got to get 300? He had 500 in a Super Bowl against the Eagles and lost by 9. So so if those same people are like, bottom line, did he win or lose? They got to come with that same energy this time too, don't they? So that's reason 1. 2, I mathematically counted the points that the Kansas City Chiefs missed. He did a nice rollout. Hit someone, I think he hit Tyreek Hill right in the helmet. And then there was a throw where he was horizontal in the air about to get sacked. I mean, that's one of those things you just freeze it, you pause it, you make a still image, and you move it to him laying on the beach or some crazy stuff like that. And hit someone in the helmet in the end zone. All right, so take those two scores, give it to him. Take the mismanagement, a clock mismanagement, we're going to talk about later in our to shame or not to shame, and take away a score. And mathematically, the Bucs are still up by 1 or 2 points. I think if the math says the Bucs will be up 24-23. So even with all of those opportunities that he could have rock starred, they still have to find another way to score and win the game. And nothing's for sure because we got to admit that they did take their foot off the gas pedal, just running the ball at the end, because that's the Arians way. Get ahead, run the ball, grind down the clock, and a combined 150 yards by Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette, man, that was golden. Having Rob Gronkowski back was golden, which is my reason number 3. It is the devil you know versus the devils you don't. Every single person Tom Brady recruited this season to bring in produced. Every single person. He brought in Antonio Brown, who was the biggest problem child, who even Bruce Arians said he's not a fit for our team. That's code for I wouldn't touch this dude with a 10-foot pole, all right? Brings in Antonio Brown, he produces. Brings in Gronkowski for moments like this where he could rest for 2 weeks, come fresh, use his big body, 2 scores, 67 yards receiving, and to whatever, another MVP candidate. Just the right place, right time. So I go more great Bucs, just out coaching a great coaching staff in Andy Reid. Me and you got some. We rub each other the wrong way in Andy Reid, but he does have Bieniemy and he did have Spagnuolo. But great, it was a great behind the scenes coaching thing, and a big gaffe we'll talk about later on the Chiefs part, which I don't know. I think really cost them a touchdown. It could. I mean, it was a difference between 4 more points and 7, or 3 more points and 7 points.
Yeah.
So,
and when you go into the halftime, you want to have some sort of momentum or stopping their momentum. You don't want to give them a score or give them a chance, even for a field goal. It's just crazy.
And last but not least, the elephant in the room, the defense. The defense by the Tampa Bay Bucs. Jason Pierre-Paul, active. Barrett, of course, the same. active person he was against Rodgers and the same active person he was in the Saints game. Washington, I forget because everybody's like, oh, Washington had the best defense in the NFL. But be honest, guys, no one in this room or outside of this room picked Washington to beat Tampa Bay, right? There wasn't a pick 'em. That was, they came in as the favorite. In fact, it was the only playoff game they came in as the favorite. So, yeah, big up to the secondary, staying in Tariq's face. They played man defense. Had a guy over the top for Tariq, and they and kept Tariq in front of them and dared to beat him in the middle. Kelsey, they were like, if he catches it or doesn't, we make sure he doesn't get that yak. You know about that yak, right? That yards after the catch.
Right. That's right.
Kelsey did get his. He got 133 yards receiving off of 10 receptions, but we both know that could have been worse, So, Mahomes, come on. You trying to tell me if I told you Mahomes was going to get no touchdowns, with the best offense in the NFL, we both agree, bar none. The single best offense, running game, and the fastest two mammals on the planet in Tyreek Hill and whoever's behind him. Mahomes has got a great first step and twitch reaction. He runs, throws on the run, throws in the pocket. Of course, I believe runaway MVP just as much as he was 2 years ago. And if I told you they were only going to score 9 points on 3 field goals, you would have said I was crazy. I picked Tampa Bay to win, but I ain't think they're going to stick it to them like that. So,
right.
Defense.
That's tough.
Defense, yep. If you got to give credit to the defense, if you got to give credit to the GOAT, and you give credit to all of these people that he brought in, every single person that he brought in produced in the Super Bowl. Think about that, So if we're giving kudos to all those people, I can't go bad Chiefs on this. I gotta go good. I gotta go great Bucs. Congratulations to Tom Brady. Congratulations to Bruce Arians, who, by the way, his next 4 assistants in the chain of command are all African American. He has 2 other female coach. One's a coach, I think an assistant coach. So you got 2 female coaches that have a Super Bowl ring. Now you got 4 African American assistant coaches. All of them probably in a year or two. Head coach worthy. Todd Bowles could probably, he's back next year. He ain't going nowhere. But I mean, the Jets have to be kicking themselves on the butt letting that dude go, And
I mean, I think though still Todd Bowles, the reason why Arians was saying like I want this guy is because he's an unbelievable defensive coach, and he has head coaching experience, which just adds on to how great of a defensive coordinator he can be. So
yeah, and maybe he is a better DC than a head coach, right? Maybe it's just about roles. I mean, he ain't gonna be broke being a DC and not being a head coach. Trust me. Didn't have to worry about discipline problems too much. Arians is very much like Rex Ryan, where he likes his players to express themselves aerodynamically on and off the field, but the trade-off is behave like an adult and don't do anything to embarrass him. And sometimes players betray that trust, and now you're stuck. You can't get rid of them. You got to keep them. And if you let them get away with it, the more immature they are, the more they think they can get away with that nonsense. But Brady saves all. Brady's like, when no one wanted Antonio Brown, Brady's like, I want him and he wants me. Please, Bruce, I got to do this with our guy, and he's in. Gronk was, before he retired, he was running with a refrigerator on his back, and he was shaking from physical and mental stress about, you have no idea what this game is doing to me right now. Comes back fresh. So now between the coaching staff and the assistant coaches and the best quarterback of all time, they created this environment where everybody's like, I'll take a pay cut. What do I have to do to be on that team? Brady's getting a $25 million deal, which is $15 million less than Rodgers and Mahomes or whatever, and a lot of people. But you think Brady's worried about money? I mean, Brady, listen, you got to pay him to respect him, or whatever, and this and that. But he never needed to be the highest paid quarterback to do what he got to do. And I mean, man, did they get the Brady discount to create some room for some of these people. Godwin might be gone, but let me tell you something. They got Scott Miller, who, disappeared in the Super Bowl, but is gonna serve dividends.
I was gonna say Godwin, who I mean, honestly, I know he was really good before Tom Brady came in, and he was, he's a very good player. But I really didn't even see much of him, making a large, sizable effect more than any of the other receivers this entire postseason. Mike Evans is Mike Evans. They're definitely keeping him. Antonio Brown's definitely got a year or two more in him at a very high level.
He's got a court date next December. Oh, this December.
Well,
but I mean, that's December.
They have all the pieces that you need. You have great tight ends, you have solid wide receivers, and you have really, really solid running backs. And just keep building that up. There's a draft coming soon too. We forget about that, so everybody's gonna get a little stronger.
Yeah, I wanted to sing My Boyfriend's Back Bigger Than Before, but I don't know, man. I'm out of songs, man. Everybody knows how I feel about my boyfriend, Tom Brady. All right, Rob. Hey, let's move right along. We can definitely revisit this at some point in the podcast, but let's move to topic number 2. Before I finish with topic 1, I put pandemic, no preseason, no problem. And no swan song because he's coming back next year and possibly the year after that. Brady and Gronk, 29 touchdown connection between the two of them, breaks the Montana and Rice record. Big up to Byron Leftwich, and that's it. First double-digit loss in Mahomes' career in 54 starts. All right, boom. Topic 2. Before the next season starts, there could be as many as 18 quarterback changes in the NFL. That's more than half the teams. Highlighting the biggest question mark in Deshaun Watson and now recently Carson Wentz trade rumors with a possible 18 teams that can make a quarterback switch, albeit backup or starters. What would be an ideal place for Deshaun Watson? What would be an ideal landing spot for Carson Wentz? Rob, you pick one. I pick the other.
Well, I'll go with Deshaun Watson. I don't think a team would ever trade him within the division, so I want to stay out of that area. Honestly, I really would like the Washington football team to get a real quarterback like that and start. I think there's a lot of hype around that team. Like we were saying, there's a fantastic defense that they have. They have some really nice pieces, and they're all young. So the draft capital that you have is actually a little bit less necessary for your team. So if a guy like Alex Smith can come in and out of nowhere drive that team to really solid wins against solid teams, get into the playoffs. Honestly, that's all Deshaun Watson needs. Whether he needs to stay with that team or not, he needs playoff experience, and I think that would be a fantastic landing spot for him and that franchise. So I would love to see that happen, and they could definitely pull some more players out of free agency if you get a player like that.
So bottom line, you're saying Deshaun Watson should land where?
Washington football team.
Ooh, the Washington football team. Maybe they come to you to figure out a name, Rob McLean. All right, you got Deshaun Watson. I got your Wentz. The question is, where is he going to be buried or where is he going to flourish? I think I like the Indianapolis Colts. He's in a situation where he has an ideal receiving core. The guys that aren't talented work hard, and sometimes talent, hard work beats talent when talent refuses to work hard. So you got T.Y. Hilton's got another 2 years left. He's got a very good running game. They got a two-headed juggernaut there. I had both of those guys on my fantasy team. They're doing it well. Of course, good coaching, at least certainly from the head coaching position in Frank Reich. And Frank Reich was his offensive coordinator or quarterbacks coach when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So he had Wentz and Foles. So I really like Wentz. Ideally to land in Indianapolis. I think the fans, it's basketball country, but he is the kind of guy that can make it football country, like when Peyton Manning landed there.
Peyton did, exactly.
And Peyton started winning, 13 games here, 14 games there, subsequently to the Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl appearances. If they treated him well, they treated Andrew Luck like that well as well. I really, really like this as a landing spot for him. Yeah, I mean, it's perfect, actually. So.
I definitely agree.
Yeah, man. God, what are the Jets gonna do, man? They got a decision to make. I mean,
I think they're probably gonna draft. They're either gonna draft a quarterback late in the first round, move up, or I think they should really stick with Sam Darnold. And I think this is what most teams should be doing. It's not about if you have that quarterback, that franchise quarterback. If you look at all the teams we just talked about, it's about who's got a team ready for a franchise quarterback. So when you're not prepared as a team for that guy, you can get a Deshaun Watson and you can lose a Deshaun Watson. You can get an Aaron Rodgers and you can lose an Aaron Rodgers just on the fact that your team is not ready. Your team is not ready to make strides. You don't want to waste somebody's 10-year career getting a team ready when you already have that superstar ready. So just like the Texans, trade Deshaun Watson, get picks, get a massive amount of picks, get a decent quarterback, and build your team so that when a quarterback comes into free agency ready to look around and who do I really want to go to, that team is an option, and it's an opportunity, as opposed to, I don't want to go to Houston. They can't even build for Deshaun Watson, who's a freaking unbelievable quarterback. How are they going to build for me? So I think teams like that have a really, really tough road ahead when you have to build for years. And I mean, look at the Dolphins. 2 years ago, they were one of the worst teams in the league. Oh gosh,
that's all right. We got it. We got to do what we got to do, baby. Go ahead.
Miami's one of the worst teams in the league, and now they got just enough draft picks where they just kept picking up players. They got players to come in. They worked with the players that they have, and they created a franchise that is exciting. Whether they have Tua or not, whether they have Ryan Fitzpatrick or not, their whole team is an exciting team to watch. So I can't wait to see what's going to come for that team in the future. And also, definitely don't be watching none of the Texans anytime soon.
I think I want to give the head coach a shot, but yeah, organization-wise, I mean, the guy says he wants to be traded. It's too bad. And the head coach, the guy took the job on the premise that Watson was going to be there, but I think our realistic nature probably says they're not going to let him leave. I remember you were talking about that before the show. Yep.
No.
Not going to happen.
Especially if he's got a no trade clause where he could possibly shoot down the trade. I mean, it's just he's kind of shooting himself in the foot with that kind of leverage.
Shit. All right, cool. So, hey, let's move along. Topic number 3, we go to the UFC. We got some big pay-per-views coming up to later, but we're gonna revenge and repair that in quick question. But for now, consolidating it to the double main event. I mean, I really enjoy watching Clay Guida and Michael Johnson go at it. I mean, both of them are long at the tooth, and they were both unranked. But you put those two of those guys who are wrestlers, they're going to agree to stand up and bang a little bit. But constant pressure, Clay Guida got him the nod 30-27, but that's not what we're going to talk about. Double main event, Alexander Volkov defeated Alistair Overeem. And when I say beat, I mean beat him down until TKO. There was no question, no fluke there, man. Big up. I'm so glad he got to face someone that wasn't a wrestler. Volkov's like, wow, someone I get to stand up with. And Corey Sandhagen, what a big mistake pick on my heart told me to pick Edgar. My head should have said Sandhagen, because that guy, until he ran into Aljamain Sterling, and Aljamain came out of the block, like just surprised him and submitted him, slept him actually. Yeah, Sandhagen's up. So I'm going to go first on this. As to the question, and the question is this: who is next up for Alexander Volkov? And I'm going to go first on this, and I'm also going to put up the rankings map just to give us a whatever. So if you look right here, there's Alistair Overeem. There was a true 5 versus 6. Now, Volkov fought Derek Lewis, and actually, I honestly thought was ahead in the scorecards, and with like 20 seconds left, or just over 20 seconds left, Derek Lewis slept him. And that was the one where he was talking about, they're like, how come you took your pants off? He's like, because my balls is hot or something like that. That was that event. In fact, I think that was the Khabib and Conor event. But I'd like to see him fight Derek Lewis again. I'd like to see him run that one back. Ideally, I'd like to see that. Rosenstruck is a kickboxer's wild dream between the two of them, and that's one you got to have that as a main event, because I definitely want to see that for 5 rounds if none of them are willing to give up the goods. Who do you like for Alexander Volkov's next match?
So, I mean, if we're talking about advancing his career, I think, like we were saying, he doesn't have to face a wrestler. If he keeps facing wrestlers, keeps beating wrestlers, why not go against Curtis Blades and see if he can really, rise up the standings?
Yep.
But I also
that would be a run back too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would really like a Rosenstruck. I think that would be a fantastic fight. I think, it's really hard putting Rosenstruck against Francis Ngannou and then him getting knocked out and then saying, he's not really worth it. It's just Francis Ngannou is just outrageous, and somebody put a wrestler against that guy, because I guess only Stipe Miocic can, make him look like a little child. Because the last time Stipe and Francis fought, that was horrible. So
I wouldn't say that was horrible. I would say Derek
horrible.
Lewis. No, Derek Lewis and Ngannou was horrible.
Yeah, that wasn't a fight. That wasn't even a fight, But, for somebody to put their hand on the back of your neck and keep you looking at the ground for 25 minutes, I mean, that is pretty bad. That's
how good is Stipe?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I guess everybody else is not that good of a wrestler, but man, let me tell you, that was, embarrassing. So what I see is a Rosenstruck and Volkov matchup, and to see who gets that the loser of Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou.
Yep. So as to our second match, I like that, by the way. Rosenstruck is like that's a kickboxer's wild dream. Jeff Samuels, if you're out there, I know you're a big kickboxing guy, man. You're probably saying the same thing. As the Corey Sandhagen, who beat Frankie Edgar via high knee, it just broke my freaking heart. I know, you've been talking about maybe Frankie should kind of hang it up to at least cement his legacy, because sometimes you kind of kill your legacy when you stay around too long, like BJ Penn,
Anderson Silva,
and Silva, whatever. But just like those guys, only he can whatever, and he did what everybody asked. I mean, the guy when I was a Frankie fan, he was 155, and he didn't have to cut weight. And he's like, Dana's like, oh, you should fight at 145. They're too big. And now, oh, you should fight at 135. And now, now he's racking up. He's playing 500 ball at 135 right now, and he's got some pretty crucial losses at 145. And I honestly, I'm like, just like GSP, man, and some people just leave alone, leave him at 155 and see what happens. But we're not talking about Frankie, I'm sad. I got to talk about him. But what's up for Corey Sandhagen? I'm gonna give it to you again.
Awesome, yeah. For me, Corey Sandhagen, I would love to see Cody Garbrandt. If you look up,
yeah.
If you look up at the rankings, you already have Peter Yan and Sterling fighting, and that's already set in stone. Mm-hmm. And I love that. But yeah, I cannot give somebody straight out of the blocks. I cannot give Cody Garbrandt. I know he's not even fighting in this division anymore, but I think that this is really where he's going to live, because I think that Davison Figueroa is going to kind of embarrass him a little bit, or Brandon Moreno. Either one of them fight him. Mm-hmm. And then, I think he needs to go back to the division where he came from. So I like Cody Garbrandt. I want him to be there and fight for real. And yeah, I think that would be a great matchup. A tough puncher against, a really, really smart fighter. And we'll see if skills overcome power and speed.
Yep. I would like to see him fight the winner of Pedro Munoz and Jimmy Rivera. They're fighting this weekend on the card, and that's going to be part of our quick question where we just start picking winners, these one-word answers. But, man, Cody was my first one. But the question was, and I'd like to think I'm neck deep in the UFC, but I just remembered Cody was flirting with like 125 or something like that, right? Instead of 135 or something. So Cody was my first one, but if Cody wasn't around, definitely I'd like to see him fight the winner of Pedro Munoz and Jimmy Rivera, which, by the way, we both know is going to be a barn burner. I mean, that's going to be a good one, boy. That is going to be awesome. And, man, we got a bunch of good pay-per-views coming up. We got Israel Adesanya flirting at 205, maybe try to become a champ. I think the fourth one in the UFC. But before we get to quick question, we got to go to my favorite topic. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what's coming next. I lead you to shame or not to shame. Set this up and boom.
Shame. 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 Shame.
So, Rob, to shame or not to shame? First question. The Chiefs call 2 timeouts with under a minute left.
Shame.
Yeah. Gotta go. Go ahead, babe. He's like, I'll leave Jason the rest of the time. Shame.
Yeah, I mean, it's shame just because how it worked out. I get what he was trying to do, but I think that's when everything's going really well. They barely scored points. I don't see where you think you're going to get the ball back and score when you've been playing the way you've been playing. So I think at that point, I think he was trying to do too much and just not. Yeah, definitely shame.
Yeah, Rob, I gotta go. Shame, 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 man. I think that's one of those things where you kind of outsmart yourself. If you already tell yourself it's going to be a low-scoring affair, you're getting field goals instead of touchdowns. You're down 14-6. You're even if you get the ball back. To what end? It's one of those things where they kind of outsmarted themselves. If it were 3rd and 12, like like a 3rd and long situation, Rob, then yeah, I would say yeah, call timeout. Or 2nd and 12, call timeout. But he called it on 2nd and 1. So I got to go shame, shame, shame. And Tom Brady was like, listen, what the hell, man? I'm just going to throw it up because if they intercept it, fine. It's the same thing as a punt, But if I get a catch or a PI, I got a shot in the end zone. And that's exactly what they got. They got a shot in the end zone against Gronkowski. And that was a 21. And then it was 21-6 instead of 14-6. So got to go shame on that. Second question. To shame or not to shame? This is a bug out. Actually, let me plug it in first, Rob. Oops. Actually, let's not. Let's go back. Whoops. So, Rob, basically, Antoine Winfield gets flagged for taunting Tyreek Hill. Gave him the peace sign. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know the story behind that, but
I do a little bit.
I'll go first on this as far as shame and no shame, Rob.
Sure.
I gotta go no shame because the first time Tyreek Hill played him, he gave him the peace sign before he went into the end zone, and the second time he burned him, he did a backflip impromptu, receiving like 200 plus yards in the first quarter. And he's one of those guys that was celebrating and sticking it to him, and it was all fun and games, and everybody's like wowed and impressed by Tyreek Hill's speed. But to me, if you dish it, you got to be able to take it. So what goes around comes around, and I say no shame. Rob?
I'd say shame just because at the end of the day, if you have locker room material, that's great, but that should not be showing up on the field. And the same thing with Tom Brady yelling at Tyrann Mathieu. It's great to show your team what you got, but at the end of the day, you could start distracting your own team by having those antics. And I think it's especially, it's 31-9 in the Super Bowl. I get that you want to, talk trash, but why don't you talk trash during the game and then, be respectful after? If Tyreek Hill wants to, throw low blows during the season, that's cool. But, it's just, I think everybody should be their own person. So, he shouldn't be reactive to that. It just kind of shows that, he was kind of sitting on something from, 10 weeks ago. So whatever, everybody needs to, be at the top. But I think it's a shame just because, they could show class in a tough win like that.
I agree. Listen, normally we're both coaches, Rob. You're an active player, professional volleyball player. I'm a coach and a commentator, and I'm old school. For me, my first instinct is to quote Coach Carter, since when is winning not enough? You got to show them up. You got to do all this stuff. But there was a guilty pleasure in me that nobody said that when Tyreek was showing him up in the middle of the season when when he was just running roughshod on him. So to me, I think for the fans' perspective, you have to have a problem with both or have a problem with neither, and this guy that made a mental note and said, hey, you come with that same energy when the Super Bowl comes, when I try to take it out of your behind. So there's a guilty pleasure in me that kind of enjoyed this. And I call it, me personally, I call it a one-off in my psyche because I never like those things. I don't even know why I liked it. I don't even know why I laughed at that. But it happened after the play. And thank God the penalty didn't cost them too much. It wasn't one of those things that cost them the score because it happened afterwards. So no shame. Quick question as we're on your last cell on that battery, bro.
That's right.
All right. Quick question. La la.
Everything's popping right now.
Quick question, Rob. Are the Chiefs back in the Super Bowl next year?
Absolutely.
Quick question, Rob. Are the Bucs?
I don't believe so.
I say yes to Chiefs, yes to Bucs. I said a week ago, I think Mahomes fixes it, and then the passing of the torch happens next year. Quick question: Knicks acquiring Derrick Rose. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs down. Gave way too much for that.
Thumbs down. This is the same guy that didn't show up one night and call. Last time he played with the Knicks, he no call, no showed. Quick question, Rob. Now we're going through the UFC. Let's start main event. Usman versus Burns. Give me one.
I like Burns, man. I'm a Burns man.
I like Usman. Macy Barber against Alexa Grasso.
I like Grasso.
I like Grasso. Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch.
I'm hoping Gastelum comes back strong, man. I mean, I loved what he was doing against Adesanya, so I'm gonna go Gastelum right now.
I think Gastelum kicks Ian's Heinisch. Pedro Munoz, Jimmy Rivera.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think Jimmy Rivera. I think Pedro kind of brawls a little bit too much.
Jimmy hits hard, but I like Pedro Munoz on this. Maki Piloto against Julian Marquez. Who cares?
Oof.
What?
I don't even know who that is.
I like Julian. I never heard of Maki before.
I'll go with Maki.
All right. We heard of these two. Got to have some classics in there. Bobby Green versus Jim Miller.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jim Miller on this one.
I'm going with Green. They both look good lately.
Mm-hmm.
They both have been looking good lately. All right, so that's the end of the quick question, Rob. Before we go, don't have a lot of shout outs, man. I guess the only shout out I got is Tom Brady, because as a coach, as a former player and as a coach, we all wish to create environments where everybody wants to be a part of it and everybody kind of leaves the drama at home. It's crazy that you have all of these strong personalities, and it was pretty much a near drama-free environment, and the only drama perpetuated was by the media. Like Bruce Arians says, that's Tom's call, not mine, or what? Is he throwing Tom under the bus? So pretty much all of that was just BS, kind of just media BS. But big up to Tom Brady, and big up to the way he creates the something we call the Patriot way. Actually, really just turned out to be the Tom Brady way. Next man up, right?
It's true. It's true.
Cool, Rob.
I gotta say big up to Scotty Miller. What a decoy. Talking about Tyreek Hill and his beating him in a 40-yard dash. He's the fastest guy in the field, and then he has one running play the entire game. So I think big up to Scotty Miller trying to get in the psyche of one of the best receivers in the league.
Scotty doesn't know that Brady and me
do it all
bed every Sunday. I guess Scotty does know, right? We're all talking about Scotty doesn't know. Go kick rock. Scotty does know. Scotty does know. Scotty doesn't know. And that's how we finish our podcast today, ladies and gentlemen. For all of you at home, for all of you on your iPad at Starbucks, it is Sports Debate Tuesday. We're off next week, or we'll make a judgment call on that. But we're getting neck deep into the NBA and basketball, and March Madness is around the corner. I can't wait, and I hope to see you all back with us next week, episode 54. That's Rob. Keep it McLean. I'm Jason DeBellius. We're out. So long. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify, and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.